The only way investing in cryptocurrency is going to change our lives is if we reap the potential rewards of being early investors by taking our profits. So what is profit taking? As the same with anything, profit taking is simply locking in gains by selling some or all of our positions that have risen since our initial investment. So when we buy cryptocurrencies and watch the prices fluctuate over time, anytime you see the position raise above your initial investment, it's just a number on the screen floating about in the magical internet world. It's not your money and you're not profitable until you either sell it to fiat coins and completely remove it off the exchange to our bank account, or sell this into a stable coin and move over onto cold storage. There is a lot of things to consider when you're planning your profit-taking strategy, such as what to sell, when to sell, how much to sell, and finally what we should do when we do sell. Most of us jump into crypto without a profit-taking plan, which is completely fine because we are going to build one together. So there's both short-term and long-term strategies when it comes to taking profits in cryptocurrency, and I think it's important to have a plan for both of them. So short-term strategies are effectively just rolling the dice and hoping for the best. They are straight up gambles, there's no other way around it. But there are pros and cons to this. So the positives of it, there is potential for very fast profits. The cons, it can be very stressful, it's very time consuming. You have to pay capital gains tax every time that you make a profit on it. The money is getting kept on an exchange, which if you've watched any of my other videos, it is a big no-no from me. So short-term strategy number one that we have is aiming for the gain. You have to decide on a certain percentage of price at which you're going to sell all at, such as if it increases by 5%, 10%, maybe you got lucky and it went up by 80%. So to better explain it, if say for example you bought $50 worth of Pepe on Coinbase, the best way to ensure you sell it at the price point that you have chosen is to set up a limit order to automatically sell all of it when the price increases by, say, 20% if that's what you decided. Placing limit orders can be great because it takes away a huge amount of the work and decision making on your profit making plan, because when it comes to actually selling, you can sometimes have the urge to just hold it a little bit longer and a little bit longer. If you know it's a short-term play, if it's in a meme coin, if it's just a moonshot that you've taken a gamble on, you need something to be implemented so that it will definitely be sold and you can definitely take profits. The only downside of this is it does mean that you have to leave your money on the exchange, which isn't ideal, but if it's a short-term play, it's a little bit less risky than if it was a long-term. So the second strategy we have is called the sales schedule. So this is where we create a schedule that determines when we will sell certain percentages of our holdings. So we're going to sell at different price points as the price increases over time. So to explain this one, if you have invested $1,000 in a coin that is worth around $1 per token, we're going to sell them at these price points. So once it hits $1.50, we'll sell off 10% of it. Once it hits $2, we'll sell off another 20%. $2.50, we'll sell off another 20%. When it's $3, we're going to sell 40% of what remains. And then for the last 10%, we're just going to leave that for the moonshot because we've already taken out continuous profits. We can take a bit more of a gamble on what's left in the bag. So the third strategy is called house money. So this is a new term to me that just seems to make complete sense. It's the most straightforward, it's the most basic, but it's also the most foolproof one. It's a very simple strategy. It's one that I will definitely be using for my own profit plan. And this is where, say if you have invested $100 into a coin and it then increases in value up to $200, you would then withdraw your initial investment of $100 and we can leave the $100 in profit to ride out the rest of the run. That way you have in effect not lost any money should it then suddenly turn around and it plummets down. You've already taken out your initial investment and you're just playing with the profit on it. But with this method, it's still important to have a price point or percentage increases at which you will take profits out, because otherwise you could end up doing a full 360, you lose 90% of what the profit was, and you end up with effectively just your initial $100 and you've wasted all of your time and effort on it. So as the market starts to heat up, I will be playing about with some short-term investments, but I think the main thing to ensure is that you have your risk management under control. Never invest any more than what you can afford to lose. I will personally be using both the sales schedule and house money in order to maximize any potential profits on these. So whilst these strategies are great for profit taking, they can also be implemented for loss taking, which probably sounds a bit counterproductive. Nobody really talks about what to do when things start kind of going all downhill and when to take a loss. With the aim for the gain strategy, you can also limit the loss by ensuring you have a set percentage decrease at which you know you will sell it all and take the loss. So maybe you're going to set this that if the coin goes down by 40%, you're going to sell it off to make sure the 40% doesn't go down to like a 99% loss. So I would say that that's also very important to plan into your profit taking, is also have a loss taking strategy, if there's maybe a better way of saying that. But there'll be losses in crypto, it's inevitable. You can also use the sales schedule by setting percentage amounts you'll sell off should the price decrease. So say if the price decreases by 20%, you'll sell off a certain amount. And it just means that you reduce the amount of your initial investment that you will lose. Now, for long-term strategies, these are what I am most familiar with, because this was my initial plan for the 2020-21 bull run, until Celsius stole it all from me, but that was another story in another video. Long-term strategies are plays in which you plan on holding, ideally for the minimum of a year, despite any market fluctuations. Things to watch out for though is if you get too attached to your investment and then you end up never wanting to sell it. So in cryptocurrency, they tend to call this that you have married your bags. One of the downsides of if this happens is that you potentially never get to lock in the life-changing profits that you could make. So the best way to plan for your long-term strategy is deciding what it is you want to use your profits on. So maybe it's buying a new house or a new car, since cars are always breaking down, or maybe you have some debts that you need to pay off. So once you have that goal in mind, you need to keep that at the forefront. Maybe write it down on a whiteboard, or if you have like a journal, write it down there, to keep focus on what the long-term plan is. So whilst you need to have your DC plan for going into the market, you also need a plan for coming back out when the time is right. So if, for example, if you've been buying Bitcoin, maybe you bought some, maybe you were super early, bought some at 1k, 10k, 30k, maybe you even bought some at the peak of 60k. But if you knew you knew that you were holding this for several more years, so the fact that you bought some at 1k is balanced out. The fact that you bought some at 60k is balanced out by the fact that you'd also bought some at 1k. So it becomes a dollar cost average investment. So when the price swings massively upwards, we need to get comfortable with taking profits to go towards our predetermined goals. Or you could also use this to start a business or make other investment opportunities, which you can then use to increase your active income and reinvest into the market. So with the long-term strategies, we can also implement the short-term strategies for profit taking on this. So for example, with the house method, you can withdraw your initial investment once you have enough profit sitting in there, or you can have the sales schedule where you take profits going the whole way up. There's a lot of different ways that you can ensure that you are consistently taking profit and reducing your chance of a loss. So overall, you can see that long-term strategies are less work, they're less mental stress, and they tend to be... So overall, you can see that long-term strategies are less work, they're less mental stress, and they tend to be the way most investors end up achieving financial success, especially in the cryptocurrency market. The only person who can really decide what the best strategy is for you is you at the end of the day. Everybody's different. We're all different ages. We're all at different stages. We're all from different backgrounds of life. There's some people who don't have anybody to consider other than themselves. And then there's people who have families and kids and parents and different people who they're all responsible for. So there is a few things to consider before settling on your profit-taking strategy. And one major thing that people tend to forget about, especially maybe if you're newer into the market, is transaction fees. So these are mostly going to affect the smaller investors, as these are required whenever you transfer to hardware wallets or exchanges or to other people. Every time you buy, sell or transfer a cryptocurrency or transfer in a cryptocurrency, there is a percentage which is taken from this to cover what is called the gas fees. Another thing to be mindful of is what networks your cryptocurrencies are on, so that you have the right currency to be able to move it around. So for example, if you have an ERC20 token such as Uniswap and you want to send it to an exchange to sell it, you'll need to have Ethereum in your account to cover the gas fees for this. Because if you don't have Ethereum, you can't move it, and then you can end up stuck with it. And one other thing that is super important, and I really do hope that people can learn from my mistake with this, is that any crypto you're holding for the long term needs to be moved off of the exchanges. Invest in a cold storage wallet and keep your investments as secure as possible. Exchanges are never guaranteed. They're very susceptible to hacks. They can freeze withdrawals. They can make you do extensive KYC to gain access back into your account. They're just not the most ideal way to be able to hold your crypto. With cold storage wallets, it's entirely your crypto. Nobody can have access to it, and you know that it is 100% safe. So that is a wrap on everything that I have so far for profit-taking strategies. Remember that mastering profit-taking is an art, and it does evolve with your own goals and your own risk tolerance. Let me know what your plan for profit taking is in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one.